Baker can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around, we're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
No back into the fence. They're still beating and banging. And to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to High Point Racing Imsa series and welcome to round 6 at the beautiful circuit of Indianapolis. Now, drivers are looking forward to really being at the top of the game and looking to push forward. My name is Stephen Koenig. Joining me in the box, we've got Brian Zinn. The man behind the cameras is Rob Campbell, supplied by Track Cams in S22 or Track Cams for Canadian. But that being said, Brian, we're here at a beautiful circuit. It's Indianapolis. It's round 6. The championship getting closer and closer to the end, but everyone looking for any advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add to the suspense, our drivers will be racing the fabled grounds at Indianapolis here at night as we are moving on to round 6 of the 8-round championship. We're going to go to Interlagos next week and round out the season at Fuji, since we did not get Bahrain in this season's build of iRacing, but our drivers with 75% of the season done after tonight's race. But before that, they're going to have to navigate the 13 turns of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the road course layout that utilizes the old classic layout. Bravo to HPR for choosing this layout. Utilizes the Indianapolis turns 1 and 2 of the oval. But Stephen, 13 turns for our drivers tonight. What are you expecting?
Well, personally, a whole lot of fun, but I am expecting a little bit of chaos, especially looking at the championships going ahead, because, well, in all our classes from LDMH, LMP2, GTD, and GTD Pro are incredibly close in the points. Let's take a look at it, because it is Adolf Perez who currently leads out the top of the points in the LDMH field on 212. Adrian Probela holds on for 140. Landon Stewart in 3rd place. Tim Keane holds up on 98 points, and Andres Quevedo on 89 points. And that's just tells you how close the LDMH is. Well, looking at the LMP2, it's Ryan Anderson on 238 points. Carlos Rees sits on 137. Jason Blaine on 108. Donald Powell on 102. And Laken Shaw rounds out on 85. How does it look for the GTD field?
Yeah, GTD Pro, we've got a hotly contested battle between Daniel Pino and Matvey Kostov. Only 30 points separating those two drivers and only 5 points back to Avery Hart. That's a 3-way battle for the championship at the moment. Lucia Tosi is just outside of that battle, sitting in P4. And Ryan Frankenberry rounds out your top 5 in GTD Pro. In GTD, Curtis Poliso's got himself slightly more of a cushion over Matthew Knoll. Noah Schaus is sitting currently in 3rd position at 127 points, with Will Adam behind him in 4th, and Gavin Cambray down in 5th.
And with that being said, we've got to say a big thank you to all our sponsors here at HPR, because without them, well, it wouldn't be racing. And talking about getting into racing, always take a look at Hymo. Professionally made setups made for sim racers. Any setup that you can think of, whether it's rain, shine, or just having easy driving, Hymo's got you covered. Don't have to be the most esport professional to get on the same pace. Hymo, we've always got you covered. And also a massive thank you to Monster Designs. If you're looking to go and really stand out amongst the drivers, amongst the teams, and show off your spirit and colors, Monster Designs has you covered. Reach out to them for some exciting, affordable liveries for you and your team. And rounding out the whole entire system, we've got Admin Box going and being utilized by all leagues and stewarding. With a push of a button, a simple, easy plug-and-play system at hand that keeps the whole system rolling. Penalties handed out, green flags, yellow flags, and also just those friendly reminders to hold your brakes. Well, absolutely wonderful to have all our sponsors on board, but especially into a championship like this, where now it comes down to the dying seconds of our qualifying, and we do have Christian Ries trying to give it everything he can. Christian out in the new BMW, trying to give it everything he can and really see how far he can really push the car up the road. And I've got to say, the BMW Evo that's being utilized is a bit better to look at without that huge snout it once had.
Yes, we can say RIP to the big sniffer, but arguably I agree the new BMW Evo is a better looker, especially those headlights. I love the CSL amber turn signal hazard lights that you have in the front housing. Can't see them because the LED headlights are full of blaze. You get a glance of them right there as Christian Ruiz blazes down to the back straightaway. And I do want to point out a correction. Unfortunately, the track map we showed earlier was the wrong one. They are using the modern GT course layout, which has its perks. I do like the back straightaway in the chicane section that Wig Santiago and his Cadillac is navigating. And Wig, congratulations. I have to applaud you for running the appropriate Le Mans livery since it is in real life Le Mans week. Happy Le Mans week to those that celebrate, like myself. I'm quite excited for this weekend's race. As we see Carlos Ruiz Padilla, he's going to pull to the stop at the end of his qualifying effort. Andrew Bruce, he's currently sitting down in P6 and LMP2. He's going to be looking to try and improve his position in these closing moments of qualifying. And Steven, just looking at timing and scoring, we are missing some of our championship contenders in GTP. So chance for some of our guys like Landon Stewart, like Wig Santiago, to try and claw some ground back as we've only got 2 races left.
It's a bit of an interesting one, actually, to see why on earth they've gone and dropped out, whether it's going out and visiting. But will be an absolute blow for the championship, and drivers will be taking that well enough in mind. You got to be in it to win it, to go and fight it out, to be calling yourself a champion. And it does look like you will be dropping your worst round. So that drop round definitely comes into play for a couple of drivers. They, well, not wanting to use it. Example, Noah Schwartz has already utilized his drop down round in the GTD in round 1. Will Atram managed to use his in round 2. But that being said, qualifying is done, dusted, and we look forward to the race and see who can survive the tracks of Indianapolis. Welcome to the Brickyard for round 6. Folks, we are getting closer to the end of the championship, and it's all about making up those points, really staying in for the fight, and no matter what you do, it's time to cross the line above them all. Christian Ries holds on to the top spot in the BMW with the Landon Stewart in the Acura. Oh, I gotta say, front row, after my own heart. Wig Santiago sits in 3rd place with Nathan Woolley in the Cadillac. Then we have got Corey Patton in the Porsche. Kenneth Cloden holds on to that P6 in the Dallara LMP2 with Christian Newman, Donald Powell, Carlos Ruiz Padilla, and Jason Blaine rounding out the back in P10.
Yeah, Andrew Bruce is going to be the last of our P2 qualifiers down at P11. Jacob Grube is going to take pole position in GTD. GTD Pro, sorry, as he's got Lucia Tosi second in class, but going to line up in P13 next to Ryan Frankenberry. Curtis Poliso and Matt Vay Kostov round out P16. Matt Loss Rootster for Daniel Newman Racing down to P17. Jason LePan and his Mustang will be P18. Will Atum in P19, and Matthew Knoll rounds out your top 20.
Looking further down, it's Donald Ingram going to be fighting out against Andrew Davis. Gavin Kramer holds on to P23. Gonzalo Abascal holds on for 24. A little bit further down, Andreas Quivido in 25 with Matthew Mitchell, and Sergio Durrell and Brandon Dimitter rounds out our P28. So as we look at our field getting ready to go, our drivers will also get to see the LMP2s and LMDHs will be put in their classes. They won't be worrying about an LMP2 coming blasting through the field. That might be a little bit too much of time compromise, but it's something to be well aware of. Christian Rees going and looking to have a bit of fun out in the Cadillac and looking to carry the Cadillac name forward, especially right before Le Mans. No one wants to be losing out right now. Everyone looking to really put the top of the board, but Christian Rees and Landon Stewart, the only two that's gone and switched up their racing cars completely at the start of the season, with the BMW and the Acura being on top, compared to, well, with Santiago and Nathaniel going and saying, listen, we take the two Cadillacs that make the best sounds, that's going to be us. Then you've got Corey Patton and Andreas Quavido holds on for those Porsches. But keep an eye out on the start. This is going to be an interesting one, because Christian Rees has not been too bad of the start, but he does have a little bit of a slow point to trying to pick up temperature on the tires. He landed up with a few problems during the course of the season. That's obviously thrown him down the order and put that BMW not really where he wants it to be.
Yeah, and with that long run down our drivers are going to have into the tight 90-degree turn 1 and turn 2, it's definitely going to be a choke point for our GTP drivers. Nighttime cool temperatures will play a factor, as you said, trying to get temperature in the tires. And I have to say, it's sort of refreshing, but I am a Porsche purist at heart, to not see a front row dominated by the 963 like we've seen in rounds past. So getting a little bit of a mix-up with some of our championship contenders not being here. We're missing the quite a few Porsches and a Ferrari as well. So, but good time for Landon Stewart, who's had some good races and some bad races, but I'm sure he's relishing having a front row start tonight. And well, in GTD and GTD Pro, it's the battle of the McLarens, as you got Curtis Poliso and Jacob Grube, who have come together and raced each other hard, even though they're in different classes in weeks past, and they're on top of their respective classes once again. So I expect those two will find each other in short form. Steven, what's your opinion of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course?
Well, all I can say is this track really goes and forces you to think out of the box with the tire usage. We know the infamous tires usage where it gets all torn apart, going back to 2007 with Formula One. But in the world of iRacing, it has been who can keep those tires just alive that little bit long, who can avoid running down to 60%, and especially in a race like this, do you really want to go and lose out time? And we've also got to touch on to the new refueling systems that have been put in since this new update. Tires and refueling are not done at the exact same time anymore, which means you jack up on the jacks, tires go on, you get put down, fuel gets put in after, which means your pit stops are absolutely crucial, especially here at Indy, as we get ready to go. Lights on, lights on, lights on, lights on. And a green flag goes as everyone gets onto the power, moving forward. Matthew Mitchell, unfortunately, is going to get the black flag, but it is all frantic heading into turn 1 for our drivers. Our GTD class also underway, giving it everything they can to move forward. It looks like we've got two drivers, Donald Powell and Sergio Girelli, out of the running so far. So Matthew Mitchell, the only car with a black flag in the LMP2 class to be losing some time. Christian Rees trying to keep it all together and also keep Landon on the back of him as our hypercars trying to frantically look for any heat to put into the tires, into the brakes, try and get things going early on. But it is going to be Christian just having an absolute smile on his face. He can get onto the power early and start trying to move forward. But Landon is on his tail.
Yeah, and both of these guys have had a massive jump out to a 2+ second lead over the rest of the GTP field. But looking at our start in GTD is Donald Ingram. He's going to go for a nice stroll through the grass there, but not what you want on the race start. Unfortunately, with the split start, the GTD field got the green way back in the infield section of the track. Oh, Christian Ruiz smacks the outside wall, and we've had a change for the lead before that as Landon Stewart's going to lead the first lap here. As you see him waving down the front straightaway, still trying to get some heat in the tires.
Now the question is, how much damage has been picked up because a simple smack against one of the side walls with a LMDH car can lead you into a world of trouble. Even in the world of LMP2, as we on board with Carlos Ruiz Padilla, you can see how hard he's having to focus and fight with the steering wheel just to keep it all in check. Not backing down from the fight. He is on a proper charge to go after Jason Blaine, but it's going to be all about keeping the momentum through. Carlos has been one of our top runners once before and knows what he needs to do to become a top runner. Luisa out on the circuit, hoping to have enough fuel. She had enough fuel for the last race, but now trying to see what she can do to fight out against the McLaren of Jacob Grubb, who is not making it anything easy behind her. Matvey Kutsov holds on right behind, trying to close up the distance. Our GTD Pro starting to heat up rapidly between competitors. No one getting away and everyone needing to try and figure out what is the game plan here. It's a long race, and how much of the time you're looking to burn, how many classes are you looking to find out with, and where are you going to stand at the end of it. I mean, this is one race where patience is an absolute certainty. The track itself may look easy to go and get a pass done by just diving down the inside. However, these sharp corners land up with you going right into one another. You can easily outbrake, and through the infield, it's an absolute nightmare to get on by. It's easier just to sit in the mirrors and just keep going. Apply the pressure, let the tires fall off, and let everyone else's mistakes go and help you out in your work.
As we're getting a replay there, Gavin Cambray getting in the back of his fellow Mercedes stablemate, and then having a big old slide into the pit entry lane. He's going to get that recovered though, but he's going to lose some time to the pack. And Steven, as you were talking about, we were on board with Jason Blaine as you were talking about it, and as our GTD field works through the chicane here, this is one of those points that is going to really test the driver's patience. They're going to want to try and get that move done coming out of turns 4 and 5, I think, head into the chicane, but it's very dangerous to try and make a pass in the chicane, so that's going to test our driver's patience tonight for sure.
It's all about trying to figure out what we can do, and Nathaniel Wiley is further down the order than what he would like to be, and he's going to have to try and fight his way through the LMP2 field. That being said, Will Attram having a tough time now, dropping down into 5th. The BMW going and having a solid run. Seems to be falling off a little bit. Andrew Davis trying to fight out in the heart of racing. Aston Martin all over the back of him and really having a good go. It's wonderful to see the heart of racing. And fun fact, do you know that Gabe Newell's son is going to be doing Le Mans in the heart of racing Aston Martin?
I did hear that, yes. And it is also very interesting to have a driver named Andrew Davis in an Aston Martin in this league, because he has driven an Aston Martin, well, the real life Andrew Davis. I don't know if this is the real life Andrew Davis. If it is, this would be a massive honor to call it. But what I'm saying is the real life professional racing driver Andrew Davis has driven an Aston Martin GT4 before. So that would be hilarious. But the similarities and the parallels between this Andrew Davis and the Andrew Davis that races for Rebel Rock Racing and drives an Aston Martin GT4 is very funny. But in GTD Pro, Lucia Tosi, who is taking the challenge to Jacob Grubb, which has not been something we've said many times this season, Stephen, is holding on to the lead and seemingly starting to pull away from that McLaren of Jacob behind, as they've dropped Matvey Kostov, who had a slowdown earlier, and Ryan Frankenberry has taken over P3 in GTD Pro. But for Lucia, who, as you said, had that fuel issue, we'll call it, not having enough fuel a couple rounds ago, and we were all cheering her on to roll across the line. She is on it from the get-go tonight and holding on to the point in GTD Pro.
Well, for Lucia, the only time she's been on the podium was round 3 and round 4, where she managed to capture a 3rd place. So she's wanting to do everything possible to get back into the podium. In last race, she was in 4th place, and now needing to fight it out yet again, see how far she can move forward. For Jacob Grubb, he's been on the podium only once this entire season, and that was in round 4. He was a non-starter in round 5. But also just trying to pick up the pieces of his championship. He so far lies 6th in the championship, and it's all about making time for him. If he can go and score enough points, he sits on 84 with Ryan Frankenberry sitting on 94. What a way to get a little bit of time to claw his way back into it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a car off. I think that's Matthew Mitchell. Yes, it is. He's doing some landscaping. I'm not sure the groundskeepers will approve of that, but we'll have to wait and see if he gets the bill afterwards. They may actually like the job he's doing. Looks like he's just going to run a bit wide. Maybe forgot what corner he was going through. It's heading into the chicane section. Absolutely, so easy to do around here. As you can see, no stadium lights like you would have at Daytona. And for these drivers, nighttime is not something you normally do even in officials, as he's going to go even wider off track, heading out onto the short chute between ovals turn 1 and 2.
Runs out wide, losing a bit of time. Corey Patton trying to give it everything he can out in the Porsche, starting a little bit further back than what he had planned. And he has got Andreas Quavido busy trying to chase him down at the moment. We've got one retirement thus far, and that looks to be Wig Santiago out of the running. So not having an easy time out there, losing out that little bit of momentum in his championship. But another factor that comes in for Indianapolis, the brickyard itself is always difficult. But for the Roval side of things, it's all flat. So as a driver, there isn't any rises on the infield, and you can easily outbrake yourself, as Wig landed up with that. He outbroke himself, went towards the infield, came to a stop, and where did it all go wrong for Wig Santiago? Looks like a very clean redress, so not quite sure what's cost him a bit of time there. But
split after that.
We'll have to wonder, maybe just not getting to grips with the circuit. I mean, Indianapolis is a very hard circuit, purely on the fact of it's very flat on the infield. There's no rises, and all the corners do feel a bit blind. Generally, when you're racing around circuits like Spa, or if you're going and having a go around Silverstone, it's easy to drive around the circuits that has some form of camber to it. Jason Blaine managing to move up through the order, having that not a problem. But once again, it just makes it a bit easier when you've got rises and falls around the circuit. It's easier to remember, and it doesn't feel like you're going and trying to guess where you are on the circuit. But this is part of the fun of Indianapolis in the Rovals, because if you can get it right here, you can handle any circuit, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing you'll notice from some of these onboard shots, there's not really a lot in the way of reference points either. As our drivers go down the front straightaway into turn one, you've got the brake markers on the fence, and you see brake markers on the fence there. But you get into the infield section, there's really not a lot to go off of to remember what corner you're coming up on. So it's a lot of muscle memory that our racers are having to use. And if you either haven't turned a lot of laps on the Indianapolis Roval or haven't turned it at night, you can get confused pretty quickly.
Including the pit lane. That's one thing we haven't spoken about. And then the drivers will be going and experiencing the pit lane, getting that pit stop done and dusted. And for the very first time, they will get to experience the refueling and tires being separate. And that is going to change how your pit stops look, where it can land up going well over a minute. Easily done, as Matthew Mitchell gets a black flag, but we did see a Mercedes deciding it wanted to fly in the air. And man, oh man, a bit of a close call. Gavin Cranberry going and looking for the inside line, forgot where the brake marker was and had to really try and catch it. Andrew Davis up towards the sharp end. He's trying to move forward, and Andrew Davis not backing down from the fight. He wants a solid win here tonight.
Yeah, Andrew Davis is looking very strong in his Aston Martin. Matthew Mitchell looks like he's picked himself up another black flag.
And now taking a look at Quivido fighting it out. He's trying to move forward. Matthew Mitchell going and running into the problem out in the Roxy colors. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like it went well for him. Straight on and back to pit. So something went on with the car that they decided it's not 100% right. And unfortunately, goes and calls it quits there. Corey Patton trying to make his way back up through the order. Third in the LMDH class. He's lost sight of Christian Rees and Landon Stewart, but he has got Andreas Quavido trying to put a bit of pressure on him. The two Porsches seem to be battling out a little bit here, trying to figure out what can they do as they navigate the GT3 traffic. Matthew Knoll trying to stay alive in the GTD class, getting absolutely into a mug fight. But the battle for third at the moment. Kenneth Cloden going and just keeping ahead of Donald Powell. He's got Andrew Bruce and Collis Rees as oh, the Scooby-Doo machine moving up. Sorry, not the Scooby-Doo machine, just that blue. But oh, if you couldn't even get close if you tried. Understeer from these cars. It is cold, it is tight, and Kenneth Cloden and Andrew Bruce are absolutely brawling it out between one another.
Yeah, I think Andrew Bruce, if I see that again, is running the Trackhouse livery. That was their concept livery on the Corvette a couple of years ago. But this battle in LMP2 is definitely heating up for the lead, as you've got the
fifth, they're all there.
Yeah, the top five are all battling at the moment, if I'm seeing timing and scoring correctly, which we've not seen in this season so far. Normally, it's one or two guys that kind of run away with it, and everybody else is left fighting for scraps. But everybody came to play tonight in LMP2, and I'm loving it.
One of the fun classes to be in prototypes. You've got a little bit of aero to help you out. You haven't got as much power as the LDMHs. You've got pretty much on par with the GT3s, but no ABS to save you. Is the ultimate way to go and test your metal, and these drivers are giving it absolutely everything they can to stay towards the sharp end of the field. And this is why they use the high-mo setups, to try and give themselves that upper advantage to go and really move forward. And also, I had a drive at Indianapolis with one of the high-mo setups in the LMP2 of recent, and I can tell you it's very, very comfortable. Except you got to make sure your tire pressures are right, especially when it gets a little bit chillier, a little bit darker. Otherwise, you will start to pick up a snap oversteer towards the end of your tire life, even if you're trying to avoid taking on a new set of tires. You're just going to do a refuel. You've got to be very mindful that when you start working your way down to about that 50% tire usage, it becomes a little bit more of a nightmare. But taking a look at Kenneth Cloden, he's trying to keep it together. Carlos Rees not giving up. It is side by side, and man, oh man, Carlos up into third, Kenneth down into fourth, but he isn't out of the fight just as yet, and that's just allowed Andrew Bruce to get into the back of him as well. Carlos opens up just the smallest of rooms right now to hold on to third, but Kenneth Cloden and Andrew Bruce now look to go side by side down the main straightaway, heading towards turn one. They look in yards, not in meters, before they hit the anchors and swing it in right and see who can run out that little bit better. Andrew Bruce has the advantage through the left-hander. Now it's on to the right. It's not going to work out for him. They are literally elbow to elbow, knees to toes, and I think at the same time they were adjusting each other's mirrors.
Yeah, very respectful, very clean racing, though, between Andrew and Kenneth as they're going to go back for round 3 with a little door rub there. They're still side by side entering the brake zone. Kenneth getting a car ahead there. Andrew's looking for the switchback, nothing doing. Kenneth's going to have the favorable line into this right, left, right section as they head back out onto the oval. But what it's done in the meantime is this 1 through 5 battle that we had, everybody was within a couple of tenths of each other, has now broken apart as Jason Blaine has jumped out to a 1-second lead and Carlos Ruiz has got a couple seconds of a gap over that battle between Kenneth and Andrew. And Chris Nauman, he's just kind of sitting in no man's land at the moment in between the two of them. I say that, though, Carlos Ruiz is catching up very quickly. That gap came down from a second to 4/10 at the line. And now Carlos Ruiz is hunting in the draft of Chris Nauman as they go into the brake zone for turn 1. You can just hear the Jaws music being played out of the front of Carlos's car. I guarantee it.
It's definitely all panic mode stations. Let's go. Oh, he runs out wide as Carlos keeping a far shallow line, doing everything he can, tips into the slipstream. It's all about the pull now, and this is where the setups come to play. How much drag do you have, and how much drag are you getting reduced when you're in the slipstream? Immediately, Carlos goes right into the back of him, trying to see where he can get on by, attacking every which way he can, trying to see if he can pull out some of that sim magic to get past the snap-on tools just ahead of him. But man, oh man, Chris Nauman having a tough time, but this is just playing into Jason Blaine's drive. He's able to make a move up through the order, but you got to remember, they're still carving through some GT3 traffic, and that's going to really upset the apple cart. And like we saw with our hypercars, you're going to have to be very, very patient. You can't get it too much into a fight. Talking about fights, though, let's take a look to our LMDHs as Andres Quivedo looking to fight out Christian Rees for that second place. And this is going to be, sorry, that's Corey Patton. Yeah, he's having a go at. And Andreas holds on to 4th place, trying to see what he can do. Corey just holds on full 3rd, absolutely battling his way through. Ultimately, it's going to be down to the wire of who can get the run on one another. How far are they willing to go? Late on the anchors, trying to make it work. Late on the anchors, once again, just battling their way around the circuit. But it's not an easy time out there. Corey is locking down those entrances, those apex. He's making dead sure, if you're going to get past me, you best earn your keep. As the two Porsches are left to fight it out with one another, and it leaves the likes of the BMW and the Acura far up the road as a big mistake comes in for likes of Corey Patton going off circuit. Andreas says thank you very much on that one. And I do think Corey was watching the headlights and unfortunately went like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah, definitely so. And as our LMP2 battlers are working their way through our GTD contenders, Jason Lepan, shout out to him. He started 10th. He's currently 10th as well. For some reason, I thought that said he was 3rd. No, he started 3rd and he's currently 10th. I had that completely backwards. I do apologize to Jason. I did not mean to rub salt in the wound of his struggle race that he is having. But the Mustangs are doing battle. It's a little bit of a Noah's Ark out here. We got Porsches battling Porsches, P2s battling P2s, and Mustangs battling Mustangs. I'm just looking for the ship in the rain. Actually, I don't want rain. I've had too much rain lately.
Don't be a soggy or spoil sport. But with that being said, let's take a look at Landon Stewart out in first place overall, leading out the LMDH field by 5 seconds. He is absolutely making this track his own, and Landon a little bit more comfortable with Indianapolis. As you can see, entrances and apexes, he's prioritizing those exits. He's not worried about going too fast into the corner, rather back it off a bit, line yourself up properly and get onto the power. It will cost him a little bit of time here and there, but the reliability and consistency is so easy to go and match. Now right into the GTD field, will navigate his way around, gets past Brandon Demeter. Andrew Bruce does pull into the pit, so interesting call coming in for the LMP2 class. Again, their pit stops done and dusted. The question is, where is it going to fall out come the end of the race? 39 minutes to go. Those pit stops need to roll in. And now we get to see who watched the patch notes, or at least went and watched their favorite YouTuber and streamer talking about what happens when you're going and doing fuel and tires on these cars, because that is going to significantly change what your pit stop strategy is going to look like.
Yeah, speaking of that, I know there's a lot of people that were quite happy about that, to bring an element of strategy back to the special events and endurance races, as tires and fuel being done simultaneously. You basically got free tire changes every time you came in to do a pit stop, and with no tire allocation limits, well, you really don't have a reason to try and double stint tires unless it's just really cold track temps. But we will see how that comes into play for our racers tonight. It's the eternal debate that we have every week, Steven, isn't it? Whether the undercut or the overcut is going to be the play of the race. As we're on board with Chris Nautman, he's not concerned about pit stops at the moment. The only thing he's concerned with is chasing down Carlos Ruiz to get that second place back.
Absolutely on the money the whole time. Chris Newman is really trying to dial it up as much as possible. He got caught out with some GTD traffic a little bit earlier, that's gone and fouled him up, but now just trying to focus on a hard charge. You can see how he's really throwing the car into the corners. He's really asking the tires for every little bit of life. There's the going saying, if you ask for sorrow or ask for forgiveness before permission, well, now he's got to ask for permission to rejoin the circuit. Ran out wide, so easily to do when you start carrying a little bit too much speed and the corner just disappears underneath you. And Chris Nautman down the order, loses a little bit of time, and not what he wants to have in his battle for the top 3. So Chris in the 87 LMP2 car, running out wide, turns in and just ran out of road. That's so easy to do, absolutely so easy to do. And as you pointed out, it's flat. There's nothing to go and look around and have as a marker. There's no tree that's in the way. There's no little Kenny the cone that you can wipe out corner after corner that tells you, hey, listen, the corner's coming. You got to just work on how many laps of practice you've done to get it right. So, as our drivers look forward to the battle, Renee Frankenberry trying to move up through the order at the moment. Frankenberry is in a little bit of a rough pickle right now, trying to figure out what can be done to save some points. Currently 5th in the championship to the likes of Lusa Tosi, who holds on for 4th in the championship. Lusa hoping to stay in 2nd or possibly even fight for 1st, as she's looking to get a few points underneath her belt. There isn't the worry of every heart, which is going to play into her favor, but Jacob Grub is sitting in 6th position, looking to take away a few points. One person that's going to be absolutely frantic to try and find his way back up in the championship is Matvey Kutsov, who holds on to 4th place at the moment. He's 2nd in the championship with his most of his championship contenders around him not here tonight and will not be going and scoring points. This is ultimately going to be a big switch up in the championship points, but he needs to ensure he goes to the top. He's on 143 points. Lucy Tosi sits on 96 points. Ryan Frankenberry sits on 94, and Jacob Grub sits on 84. So there's a little bit of time, a little bit of catch up, but there's every chance that he might lose that second place spot in the championship for round 6. Let's take a look to our drivers. This is Gavin Cranberry trying to push as hard as he can and see what he can do. Okay, he just missed out the corner entirely.
Gavin's sitting there saying, I'll show these track designers what the proper line should have been through this section. I'm sure he probably has some thoughts on the stadium section of Coda as well.
I'm just thinking, he got lots and lots of laps during Indy. Was he following the Indy course? Straight on, keep going, don't worry about it. You know, it's try and follow the road through, but we get to see our street circuits really landing up in the same way, where the drivers just get short-sighted, they get into that tunnel vision and really get sent on. I mean, if you think about it, you've got the circuits like Long Beach that we were last at. That was a lot of fun, and we did see the same thing, drivers going and missing their marks. But ever since then, we've been on contemporary courses other than Daytona. Christian Rees leaving pit lane, and this was his first time out after his first pit stop. And oh man, new tires, can guarantee it.
He rejoins the track safely in between some GTD traffic there, but definitely not what Christian was wanting, as that's going to hamper his effort in the race so far.
Donald Powell also having his unfortunate where the track disappears underneath him, mows the lawn on the way through, rejoins the circuit, and just the grass on the tires, and well, got to see his backside. If you want to play the rhyme game, there's the rhyme game for you. But it is going to be a tough one. Drivers are starting to feel it now. And Brian, this is always the trickiest part. You're coming from endurance racing, you know the feeling of sitting and watching headlights in front of you. What will the drivers will need to do right now to start concentrating on their race and also not to be side-sighted with those lights constantly flashing in and around them and inside the cockpit?
Yeah, it's going to be paying attention to your relative. Listen to your spotter who's going to be calling out faster traffic approaching and learning where it's best to facilitate the pass. You know, the one thing that slower traffic always gets told is to maintain your line, and it's the expectation that the faster class cars will work around you, as we see Gonzalo Abascal come into the pits for his service. He's currently sitting in P7 after starting in P9, but for the drivers to facilitate the pass, that means perhaps lifting a little bit early and going into a corner, letting the faster traffic clear them in the brake zone, and that way you're not held up in the exit of the corner. And speaking of exit in the corner, Nathan Wiley has a moment there, spins around, gets it recovered, and goes on his merry way. But one of the biggest issues that I found personally in endurance racing and on both sides of the faster class, slower class coin is you find some GT cars that will want to challenge that prototype that just passed them in the brake zone, as Lucia Tosi has lost the back end of her Ferrari somewhere along the circuit. She has no taillights, no rear engine cover, and I don't know if she has a rear wing either. I can't tell in the darkness, but we'll have to see if we can find what happened to her. But that was a big moment to have the back half of that Ferrari torn off the car.
And at this stage of the game, that is a nightmare case for her. So she was already under some serious pressure, but that car was broken well before then. And unfortunately, now everyone is just having a tough race. For Lucy, who was looking for a solid result, that's going and throwing her down the order, and will be for a very thankful run for the rest of the drivers, such as, well, Matvey Kutsov, who was a little bit further behind. He's now up into third. He's got his eyes set on Ryan Frankenberry and Jacob Grubb to round out the field. I mean, this is where things are turning into a little bit of a hard time, and drivers are needing to really think what they can do.
Yeah, the only thing that Lucia is probably happy about to mitigate the damage to her race is that whatever happened near the end of the lap is she was able to stay ahead of Ryan Frankenberry and make it to the pits without having to tow, so she's able to use the faster pair, get her Ferrari all fixed up, and be on her way. And knowing that the 3 cars in front of her, Jacob, Ryan, and Matvey, all have to make their pit stop, she's still in this, so she can make some places back with some good outlaps and some good solo running. She can look to manage the traffic, the faster traffic passing her better than her competition, and who knows, she might find her way back into P2 after everything shakes out from pit stops. But for Carlos Ruiz Padilla, he is hoping to shake off the competition. He's got Kenneth Cloden and Andrew Bruce hot on his heels as Kenneth Cloden throws it down the inside. Andrew Bruce says, "Thank you for opening the door. I want to go through with you." He does not, though. Carlos is able to slam the door shut on the charging 28 of Andrew Bruce, but Kenneth Cloden gets by and makes his way up in P2. And for our class pole sitter, it is a continuing race of recovery as they're all trying to chase down Jason Blaine. But if they keep battling like they are, it's just going to allow Jason to pull away. And for Landon Stewart, he's looking to capitalize on Christian Ruiz's misfortune as he had that spin coming out of the pits. And he's putting in some very fast times, getting prepared to come down pit road for his service of the race. We are halfway through, so anybody that pits now will be able to make it to the end with their service. Jacob Grubb, though, as we saw a couple rounds ago, has taken the lead and never looked back. He's currently enjoying a 9+ second lead over Ryan Frankenberry in GTD Pro. As we ride on board, listening to the sounds of that turbocharged V8.
Just looking at the drivers of how difficult it is in the headlights. You are literally running to what your headlight shows. I mean, when you start to get in a tow, it's a little bit easier, but you can also get caught up in it. Now, for everyone that wants to know why on earth there is a purple UV light in the car, it's just so it makes it easier for the driver to go and keep an eye on his instruments, for one. 2, doesn't get the bright lights coming through when the other cars are around, so that can cause some major distractions. So it's just a way to help clear distractions, also see what you're doing inside of the car, and, well, some people like a rave-on party. Why not? But with that being said, it is absolutely dark. It is manic, and Indianapolis is one of the most frightening circuits to have in the day. Now the drivers are really having to push out of their comfort zones. Those brake markers that you thought you knew about, well, they seem to be 5 meters a little too far, and our drivers are starting to come off the gas a little bit, and you can see it in the lap times as we do find out about Andrew Bruce up into 3rd place. He gets a hold of Carlos Ruiz, managing to drop him down. Kenneth Cloden still 2 seconds up the road from him, and Jason Blaine leads out the field, but Andrew Bruce really bouncing over those curbs and will be picking up slowdowns and picking up those incident points that will start to come into effect as well. So that's one thing we got to consider for all our drivers. Who is going to get caught? But we're talking about that. Let's talk about what you need to stay out on circuit, starting off with a best setup. A setup that's comfortable for you and can win out races. Hymo has got setups to go and keep you on top of the pack. The best sim racers designing the best setups for you. Whether you're a veteran or a novice, Hymo's got you covered with some phenomenal iRacing setups from the world of circuit racing to ovals. Absolutely going to have a solid run. But talking about that, well, Brian, it's all about looking good out there, and especially at night time, you want to have that little bit of a flare, a little bit of neon. Well, Monster Designs has got you covered with some incredible liveries that get made for both driver and for teams. It's absolutely wonderful to have them on board with us, going and putting on a stunning show. Usually we have our, well, senpai car, unfortunately not here tonight, and that is a Monster Design exclusive in the GTD field. And all the admins are utilizing Admin Box, a plug-and-play solution that allows you to control iRacing at a push of a button. Want to bring out that black flag? There we go. You want to bring out that safety car? There we go. No need to fiddle around with iRacing commands. You've got the easy plug-and-play solution to go and run your entire race control, or if you're as a driver, to go and start messing around for your own AI needs. Well, with that being said, black flag comes in for Andrew Davis, and that, I think, was not by our own admin. I think that's for track limits exceeded.
Yeah, either that or incident count, one of the two. But as we've seen more and more drivers coming into the pits, it could also be for speeding in pit lane. Something we haven't talked about with the pit exit for Indianapolis. First of all, it's one of the longest pit roads you will ever endure in sim racing or racing in general. But the exit cone that you can disable the pit speed limiter is not where the wall ends. It is about 100 feet beyond that. And so that is something that can catch drivers out very easily.
Or if in some cases, it can move.
Yes, that would be diabolical from your fellow competitors. Gonzalo Abascal, he's in a battle with Will Adam behind. Looking at timing and scoring, both drivers have made the call to pit lane, so this is a battle for position outright. This is not pit stop shuffle aided.
Oh, connection issue for Kostov.
For Matvey Kostov, he appears to have a connection issue. He is currently showing out on timing and scoring, and that is a disappointing turn of events for Matvey. He was enjoying a good, solid P3 run, but for Lucia Tosi, though, she will enjoy the position being given back to her after that incident saw her lose the back end of her Ferrari. And as we talked about earlier, Ryan Frankenberry was a car ahead as we see Gavin Cambrai climb the curb in turn 1. That's Andrew Davis in front of him.
Oh, dude,
hey, we got some initial D Formula Drift going on out here. I didn't know Indianapolis hosted around a Formula D, but we got one anyway. Well done to those two gentlemen. Not only doing sympathy spins for one another, but keeping it clean and able to recover. Giving the fans there in the stadium section of Oval 1 something to cheer on.
Now, I do want to point out something here. Matvey Kostov, who's second in the GTD Pro Championship, if he scores nothing here tonight, and it's just Jacob Grubb, Ryan Frankenberry, and Lucia Tosi to round out, those are the three drivers lying in 4th, 5th, and 6th position. It then means no one from 1st, 2nd, or 3rd is able to save points. And the only driver that has not dropped around is Matvey Kostov. And unfortunately, that means he's in for a world of hurt, because on that 143 suddenly starts to disappear and now has a chance for Lucia Tosi. If she's able to win, she'll be able to bring it up in the points as well. So it's going to be a very interesting call on this one. It's not quite over, but the championship is starting to look more and more spicy, depending on what happens tonight. Right across the board, LDMH, LMP2, GTD Pro, and GTD are all looking to really change things up. Except for GTD, where Curtis at the moment is doing what Curtis does best, winning. This would be his first time back on the top spot since round 1. He has so far been round 2 second place, round 3 5th, round 4 second place, round 5 second place. What a true to form drive if he can get a victory here tonight. But we are keeping an eye on the ongoing battle. Jason Blaine trying to fight it out at the moment. He's got Andrew Bruce, Carlo Rees onto the back of him as well, and it's just the LMP2s doing what LMP2s does best: close side-by-side racing in these prototypes. And man, it's why the class is absolutely great. I'd like to see some more variations, maybe Leisure getting involved with the LMP2s, not only just Delaras, but it's wonderful to have these cars out on the circuit.
Yeah, I was just going to call out that I wasn't sure how that battle got so close, because Jason Blaine had such a commanding lead before the pit stops. Andrew Bruce had a 4-second faster pit stop in the box, but then Jason Blaine came down pit lane again, so I'm not sure what is happening for our P2 leader before the pit stops. Kenneth Cloden has inherited the lead after all the pit stops have happened, so not sure if Jason maybe didn't take enough fuel or what, but Andrew Bruce is the big winner on pit stop time. He was 4 seconds faster than anybody else. Kenneth Cloden's now in the pits as well. I'm not sure what is going on.
Kenneth Cloden looks like he was just...
Oh, he might have got sent back to the pits for a disconnection issue.
No. Kenneth Cloden, who was on a stellar charge, just been told, listen, you got to get yourself sorted. Shoves him into the pits, and Jason Blaine gets a black flag. That is a big one. Jason Blaine has now got a black flag to contend with, and that is going to hurt his chances for a top 3. Bang in the back. Oh man, what a gut-wrenching punch. So we do take a look to the Castrol colors of Jacob Grubb at the moment, currently 13 seconds up the road to the Porsche of Ryan Frankenberry. Lucio Terzi holds on in the Ferrari, trying to close up. Matseve Kutsov and Sergio Dorelli unfortunately out of the racing, leaving our GTD Pro field down to 3, and who to keep going. For the GTD, it's still all eyes out front, seeing who can move forward. But it is just now turning into a race of nutrition. A lot of drivers battling out on circuit. You can see they're running right to the fringe of the circuit. They're pushing as hard as they can. But here at Indianapolis, it is turning into an absolute nightmare to try and find out where they can get that little bit of grip, where they can find the time, and also where the track limits aren't going to abuse them.
Yeah, Jason Blaine getting that black flag after having to make to that second trip down pit lane is a bit of kicking a man when he's down. But somebody that's not being kicked at all is Curtis Pauly, so he's enjoying himself a 8-second lead over Matt Last Rooster after pit stops are said and done. So it looks like everybody has made the call to pit lane at least once for our runners. And going back to the GTD Pro Championship, you were talking about everybody behind Matt Vey being able to gain some ground, but fortunately for him, Avery Hart is not in tonight's race, and he was the closest competitor behind Matt Vey in the championship, as Matt Vey's P2 and Avery is P3. But certainly for Jacob, Ryan, and Lucia, all of those folks are going to gain ground on the top 3 in the GTD Pro Championship. And with 2 races to go, you can't afford to be giving away points, certainly from not showing up. So certainly a change brewing in GTD Pro's championship, and same in LMP2 as for Kenneth Cloden. He was having such a good race, and I'm sure he is going to be extremely frustrated with whatever that connection issue is that he's contending with at the moment. That's the worst thing that you can have happen as a racer, is some sort of equipment issue or a connection issue. But in the world of sim racing, that's the equivalent of having a 10-cent washer fail on your engine.
Yep, that's it. That is it. Or you suddenly discover you've found your missing number 10 socket down the block. That also
that's where I left it.
Yeah, that's where I left it. Thank you, engine, for finding where I left it. That being said, though, the lights are becoming a little bit tricky for drivers, and it's very interesting to see. Now, Brian, you do a lot of racing and a lot of night driving. Having lights out on a circuit like this in the various classes, what does it do to you when you suddenly have a faster car like Christian Rees out in the new BMW Evo Hypercar, catching up to LMP2 or even to our GTDs out on track?
Yeah, you just start trying to figure out where you're going to catch him at, and if you need to start backing up the corner, maybe do a little lift and coast so you catch him coming out of a corner versus trying to challenge him in the brake zone. As you see there for Christian Ruiz, he's pushing hard. He's going to cut the track, though. That's the second time I've seen him take the alternate course layout there. Christian, I don't think the designers are going to make that the track layout as many times as you take it, though. But unfortunately for him, he's going to lose all that time that he gained to Andres Quevedo. And shout out to Andres Quevedo. He was down battling with Corey Patton over 4th and 5th and 5th and 6th at the start of this race. And now he finds himself in P2. Granted, he's 42 seconds down on Landon Stewart, who, barring any sort of catastrophe, has this race at hand. But for Quevedo, for sure, I don't think he envisioned P2 being on the cards with the way the race started for him. And for Christian Ruiz, I'm sure it's a case of what could have been, as he was enjoying a good battle with Landon for the first part of the race and then had that mishap leaving the pits. And he's made some other smaller mistakes since then, and he finds himself 5 seconds back of Andres in P3. But he's got time in hand over Corey Patton, so all eyes forward trying to run down the Porsche of Quevedo in front of him. For Lucia Tosi, she's still in recovery efforts after having that incident that caused the back end of her Ferrari to see better days. She's got Ryan Frankenberry in the pink Porsche in front of her, locked in her sights. I'm sure she's wishing that she'd be a little bit closer so she could switch to guns instead of missiles. Shout out for anybody that gets the Top Gun reference.
Fair enough. Now,
he's had a very quiet race, Steven. I'm sure he's enjoying that as a change of pace from some of his earlier races in the season.
well, if you think about it, Ryan Frankenberry was battling out with Lucia Tosi back at Monza until there was a problem of Lucia getting stuck. Unfortunately, Chris Newman landing up stuck on the side. Yeah, talking about getting stuck, and gets a spin. It's a half spin. I'd give it about a 3 out of 10. Trying to get going once again, and we'll have to rejoin safely. Comes to a stop onto the right-hand side. But it's so easy to do, and I think drivers are now starting to feel the wear and tear of this race, how much stamina you actually have mentally to keep pushing through. One thing about night races, I find it's actually a little bit harder to do during a night race than a day race, because suddenly everything you've practiced, every brake marker you aimed for, suddenly it's gone. It fades into oblivion. You start trying to grasp at straws to try and figure out where you're out on circuit, and it just takes one moment of not concentrating, and then all of a sudden, bam, you are now trying to figure out where you are on the track. Turn 3 suddenly looks like turn 6, and where on earth is it all coming into play? There's no risers to help you. It's all flat here at Indianapolis, and follow the leader suddenly becomes a little bit more dangerous, because we get that little bit of a moth mentality, and you start looking at the lights in front of you, you start closing to the lights in front of you, you start to tunnel vision to the lights in front of you, but you forget about whatever's coming up next to you, and that might be this man right now, Landon Stewart in the Acura, who's not looking to lose about any bit of momentum right now. He wants to get past the traffic as fast as possible and keep away from Carlos Ruiz behind him, keep away from the likes of Jason Blaine. He wants a clear, solid victory. And with having no LMP2 cars around him, no hypercars around him, and no mistakes for the championship.
Yeah, Landon taking a lot of the curbing there in the chicane. That's actually kind of surprising with how stiff these LMDH cars are. But as you see him putting a lap on our LMP2 leader of Andrew Bruce there. But yeah, that's a great point you touched on, Steven, about the mental toll that nighttime racing.
Oh, I think we lost him.
A little bit of follow the leader, and it's easy to make the same mistakes of the car that you're chasing, and it makes that pursuit and that pass even more difficult. And I do want to point out, as we were looking at the spinning car of Chris Nelman in LMP2, but one of the quality of life improvements that iRacing made in this season update, for anybody that didn't read the patch notes, they in-game spotter will now help you rejoin safely. It will tell you when cars are approaching, and it will tell you based on the angle that your car is parked what you need to do to be able to get oriented properly and to try and cut down on those okay everybody, I'm just going to pull out now moments, and causing more collisions. So bravo to iRacing for improving that. Whether people listen to it is a completely different story, but you can't say you didn't know what was happening.
Well, for anyone that wants to know, this is one of the very few leagues that are running straight after that update. So it's actually rather well to go and see. One of the very few leagues that gets to experience the update and all its glory right here at Indianapolis. Makes me wonder, if I go spin the car, am I going to be called a sandwich? Well, going to have to find that one out, that's for certain. Jacob Grubb moving forward in the GTD Pro, keeping ahead of Ryan Frankenberry. Lucia Tulsa holds on for third place. Curtis Poliaso, Matt Loss Rooster, and Matthew Knoll round out top 3 for GTD. LMP2 as Carlos Rees, Andrew Bruce, and Donald Powell holds on for that third place spot. But it's our LMDH leader, Landon Stewart, Andres Quivedo, and Christian Rees holds on for third place. Come on, Christian Rees, bring that BMW to the top. Carlos, let's take a look at what happened to him for the High Point Racing LMP2 class, as he was keeping it all together, keeping a solid drive across the line. Did he get a little bit caught out towards the end here?
It's supposed to be him.
Got a little bit of pressure.
Andrew Bruce pit.
Andrew Bruce had come to the pit lane before, and Carlos himself has now made a second trip to pit lane. So I'm wondering if our LMP2 drivers just didn't have enough fuel to make it to the end of the race on one stop. But for Andrew Bruce, he's coming around the final sector. He's got to navigate Gavin Cambray, who's off in the weeds, as Carlos Ruiz is at the pit exit.
Gavin took the short right in through the grass, trying out a bit of rallycross, but I have to say the Indianapolis exit of pit lane into turn 1 is such a pain to go and deal with. But I do want to find out, Curtis Poliaso, he hasn't made a single mistake here today. Yellow flag, as he's lost a bit of time, and Curtis going and putting a wheel off circuit. Not too happy on that one, and lost a significant amount of time. Don't see any damage to the McLaren, but Curtis, trying to keep his pace going at the moment, will be thinking, okay, not quite what I wanted to have. The yellow flag kicked up, a little bit of rubble kicked up as well. And I do think he's done some investigating out into the grass just to make sure that it's regulated height.
Yeah, if I was a betting man, I think he probably took a little bit too much of a shortcut through the chicane and picked himself up a nice slow down penalty as a result. But with all that time in hand that he's got over Matt Lost Rooster, he certainly not in danger of losing the lead, as you see the BMW LMDH Evo there of Christian Ruiz come whipping around that Porsche GT3. Christian Ruiz, he's got himself back up into third after the spin that he had after his pit stop. I'm sure he's still kicking himself somewhere inside that car for that mistake, but not sure it would have done any good with the pace that Landon Stewart has had tonight. And well, speaking of making up for mistakes, Lucia Tosi is still trying to do that after her earlier misfortune, as she's gotten within 0.4 of a second of Ryan Frankenberry in front. And Steven, as we're closing down to 6.5 minutes, this battle is starting to heat up.
It's turning into an absolute knife fight. Everyone looking to maximize points. Remember, for all 3 drivers of the GTD class, the GTD Pro, it is all about maximizing points, because you're going to be jumping up in the order. You're going to be moving up. You're going to be looking at it and saying, well, I have an option here to really move forward. And ultimately, where is it going to be? It's a tough race. It most certainly is going to be a tough one. And I was also just taking a look at Christian Rees in the LMDH. And, well, to give you a bit of a sad fact here, in round 2, is the only time he stood on the podium. Ever since then, he has gotten a solid qualifying to get himself to the podium, but round 3 down to 8th place, round 4 5th, round 5 6th, just from having off tracks, drive-throughs and unlucky situations has thrown the BMW driver down the order. That the last time he ever got to see a podium was round 2 and missing out round 1. I mean, that's just a heartbreak situation, and it looks like if he can keep it all together now, ahead of Corey Patton, who's 16 seconds behind, well, it may be a return to saving grace, especially after Long Beach. But Lucia, also a driver that was doing incredibly well at Monza last week, now trying to make up some time to fight it out, and unfortunately got beached on the curb in turn 1. Now trying to bring back some time here, looking for an opportunity to move forward, and ultimately it's going to be who can stand on the gas, with Ryan Frankenberry just ahead of him. And Lucia is going to have to really get into the thick of it, trying to close down as much as possible. But Ryan Frankenberry is not going to be an easy one to clear on by. The Galaxy Team Esports will be fighting out, needing that little bit of drive. And Ryan Frankenberry trying to utilize the slipstream of the LMDH cars around him. Nathaniel into the pits, and that puts both our Cadillacs down to the bottom. But Ryan Frankenberry are the misfits to Solo Racing, going and being Han Solo right now, trying to defend that second place, trying to hold his ground and doing everything he can to make it work. 3 minutes and 50 seconds remain in this race for the HPR IMSA series for round 6, and it is all on the line. Winners of tonight in each class will win a 1-month subscription to Hymo, which is absolutely what you need to kick off the brand new season right here at iRacing, and to kick things off with professionally made setups. Also, we do have the other competition that comes in. Monster Designs is having a random giveaway for some incredible livery designs. And I won't say that I'm not jealous, but I am jealous, and I do know that Rob Campbell is also jealous on that awesome affair. Prizes being handed out by our incredible team. Donald Powell trying to make up some time as he's on the charge. Ryan Frankenberry getting chased down by Lucia Tosi. Andrew Bruce trying to stay alive at the moment, as it is a battle for second and third in the LMP2, and a battle for the GTD Pro. Ryan Frankenberry, Lucia Tosi will find out. 2 laps to go. 2 laps left. And who can give it their absolute all? I mean, Brian, it's 2 laps to go. You're in the dark. You're pushing through it. This is where you've got to dig deep into those pockets. You got to find that pace and stamina. You got to really dig deep if you want to score points here, especially as we get on to the back end of this championship. This is round 6, and for a lot of these drivers, it's now make it or break it for the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see Christian Ruiz picks up a black flag with just over 2 minutes to go. That's certainly not what he wants, as that's either going to drop him down to 4th place on track, or that'll be a post-race time penalty. But for the likes of Donald Powell, Lucia Tosi, and a few others, definitely pushing that extra little bit to try and get a further step up on the final results table.
Just Christian Rees back into the pits. Oh man, every single race he's landed up just stuffing himself over. That's the only way I can describe it. I mean, it just, oh man, that's just pain.
Yeah, given that he pulled in and stopped, that is not a drive-through for incident, so not sure what else that might be for. I forget off the top of my head what a penalty is for not serving a slowdown in time. But for Landon Stewart, he ended up getting around, I believe, in time to make it 2 to go. I did not see Barney waving the white flag. So that could come into play for some of our drivers that may be close on fuel.
I mean, this is going and turning into it, and I wonder if Christian Rees going to be looking at that black flags, thinking again, just again, running into trouble. Oh man, only been on the podium since one race, and it's run afoul every step of the time.
And there's Landon Stewart lingering in the background. He's taken the white flag, so we officially have one to go. Across the line with 10 seconds to go. And Donald Powell, we were just wondering if people were going to have enough fuel. He is making his way slowly down pit lane. Have to wonder if he's on fumes. And
black
he picked up a black flag to add insult to injury. But that's going to promote Jason Blaine, I believe, up into P3. Landon Stewart, though, he's got a commanding lead as he's working his way through. That is the third place Porsche 963 of Corey Patton in front of him, to give you an idea of how far up the field he has lapped tonight in an absolutely dominating performance.
Donald Powell so far has been on the podium once in round 5, but round 4, a black flag knocked him down to 4th place. A black flag in round 3 knocked him down to 6th place. A black flag in round 2 knocked him to 7th, and a black flag in round 1 knocked him down to 5th. If you want to talk about someone that's so sick and tired of flags, well, that's it. One person not sick and tired of flags. Landon Stewart takes the victory in the LMDH class and overall, and that means Andreas Provido will take 2nd place, with Corey Patton holding on for 3rd. Christian Rees will finish up in 4th place. Once again, the BMW misses the podium to the Porsches, but it is an Acura on the top step. Oh my heavens, Carlos Rees looking to be the top charger in the LMP2 class, with Andrew Bruce in 2nd place. Donald Powell might be able to hold on for 3rd. We'll just have to get confirmation when he comes around the line. Jacob Grubb, though, will take the victory in the GTD Pro class ahead of Ryan Frankenberry and Lucio Tosi coming across the line, taking 3rd place. A top 3 for them. Curtis Poliasu going with yet another dominating victory in the GTD class, with Nat Lars Rooster in 2nd place. Matthew Knoll will take 3rd. What a drive coming in. What a bit of shock coming in for a lot of drivers. And man, oh man, as we take a look at Carlos Rees Padilla going and fighting out in his sim rig, bringing it right to the wall. He's going to go and just smile across the line. Brian, what a race here at Indianapolis, in the dark, never easy, and now drivers getting to see what can they do to stay at the sharp end of the field. How is this championship going to work out as we've now crossed the threshold? Round 6 done and dusted, and we've got 2 more rounds to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Landon Stewart is going to be our victor tonight in LMDH, with a commanding victory over Andres Quevedo and Corey Patton, who rounds out the top 3 in LMDH. Rounding out your field, Christian Ruiz had a bad luck night tonight. He finds himself in P4 with Nathaniel Wiley and Wig Santiago rounding out your finishers in GTP. In LMP2, Carlos Ruiz Padilla, he finds himself at the top step of the podium, with Andrew Bruce and Donald Powell joining him on the podium. Jason Blaine comes home in P4, Chris Nallman in P5, Kenneth Cloden in 6th, and Matthew Mitchell down in P7. Steven, tell us who finished where in GTD Pro.
Well, it's all about the tin tops here, and it's Jacob Grubb that's able to take 1st place ahead in the GTD Pro, with Ryan Frankenberry in 2nd place. The Misfits 2 Solo Racing finally back on top. Lucia Tosi gets into 3rd place. Well done, girl. Fighting it out with Matej Kutsov, unfortunately out of the race and denting his championship. Sergio Dorelli did not start the race, and he will hold on to P5. bit of a tough time out there. But for our GTD, it was all going well for Curtis Polya. So he manages to finish out first ahead of Matt Loss Rooster of the Daniel Newman Racing Porsche. And third place is Matthew Knoll, once again carrying some good points into his championship for the Astro Racing. Donald Ingram in fourth place, Will Atcham, followed by Gonzalo Abscol, Jason Lapan, Andrew Davis, Gavin Cranberry, and 28 laps down is going to be Brandon Demitter. A bit of a shocking race. That being said, our drivers had to really fight it out, and what a race it was. And honestly, Brian, got to say, the prototypes have put on an amazing show, and I'm looking forward to hearing the words from our winner of Landon Stewart, who will be in for the LMDH. But also, we've got a couple of other drivers that have had a ton of fun out there in the various classes. What's your take so far from Indianapolis and the racing that we got to see?
Yeah, it was fantastic racing, especially from Landon Stewart, who has shown flashes of pace all season, but really hadn't been able to put it together to get the victory, but he did so tonight in Indianapolis. And for Carlos Ruiz Padilla, he had to fend off a lot of challengers in LMP2. It really looked like anybody's game there in LMP2 for a while, but we've got our LMP2 champion here tonight, Carlos Ruiz. Talk us through your night with that battle, that five-way battle that was going on at one point, and what your mindset is walking away with the victory tonight.
Yeah, it was good. It was a little sketchy. I was using the incorrect setup tonight. I didn't have a setup, so I was playing with a double-edged sword at that point. I knew if I feel saved on my second stint, I think I can make it work. So as soon as I exited pits, I feel safe for that whole stint until I saw Andrew pit. So that's when I started pushing. So that way I can do a splash and dash. So it worked out for me.
Yeah, we were actually just talking right before those pit stops happened, wondering if the LMP2 field would be able to make it on one stop tonight. But for you, you've got 2 rounds left in the championship. What's your game plan going to be into round 7?
I think game plan is not crash. I believe we have our next race is Brazil. That's a really strong track for me. So as long as I keep it on track and not make any mistakes with other classes, I think I can come up with another victory. Well, I'm hoping so.
Absolutely. Well, we're hope to be able to talk to you next week after another good round at Interlagos. But before we let you go for the night, Carlos, who would you like to give a shout out to?
Shout out to our title sponsor, Hymo. They've been amazing. Of course, sponsored by them, getting setups and dialing them in. Great shout out to them and to the whole HPR team. They've been fantastic.
Well, congratulations again. That's your LMP2 winner tonight, Carlos Ruiz, and we hope to talk to you again next week in Interlagos.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great stuff to go and hear from him. And after a great race, it's going to be on to the championships. But talking about championships, let's have a chat to our GTD Pro winner, and that is Jacob Grib. Jacob, welcome to the commentary box and a first place here at a very, very dark Indianapolis. How are you feeling?
Yeah, pretty happy about that one. It was a fun race. Kind of difficult conditions, like I said, it's pretty dark, but I think I may have found the one place that the McLaren is really good at.
Well, let's also talk about it. You are 6th in the championship. The last time you got to stand on the podium was the 2nd place at round 4. Now back up to the top. You're scoring a good set of points for the championship. Do you feel that there is a chance to go for gold in the GTD Pro Championship for the GT3 class?
To be honest with you, no. But my goal is to be 3rd, so I think there's a chance if I keep having good finishes, then I hope to end up there.
well, I'm sure it's going to be a great one. We're looking forward to seeing the Castrol machine right out at the top, winning out races yet again. But before we let you go to enjoy the celebrations, and honestly, what a phenomenal time, and I'm sure you've more than happy to suddenly turn all the lights on and, well, have a little bit of daytime. Anything you would like to say to all our sponsors here at the High Point Racing, to Monster Designs, Hymo, Admin Box, but also to the drivers, the teams, and the amazing petrol heads out in the virtual grandstands right here at Racer Nexus?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the admins and you guys, the commentaries, for putting this all together. It's just a lot of fun just to get on here and do, and then, you know, especially if you have a good night like tonight, go back and watch it. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate the admins for organizing this stuff and trying to make it the best possible racing. I think it really shows out on the track. We've got a lot of good drivers, good racing, and pretty clean. So appreciate that.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. Jacob, thank you very much for joining us, and well done on the victory here tonight at Indianapolis. We'll look forward to seeing you out at Brazil. Don't worry, I've got the maracas, but hopefully you got the bug spray.
All right, thank you.
Jacob Grubb going and taking a solid run. But Brian leaves one driver to go and lead out, and it is our GTD driver of Curtis Poliasu. Over to you.
Yeah, Curtis, absolutely dominating race tonight in GTD. Talk us through what your game plan was and what your thoughts were there when you saw just how big of a lead you had in the closing stages.
Yeah, you know, after the pit stop, it was just about managing it, bringing it home. Couple slowdowns there, flirted with disaster, so we just decided to manage the gap, bring it home safely.
Yeah, completely understand that. But as you are enjoying a great season so far and you've got 2 races left to go, what is your kind of championship strategy as we head to Interlagos and Fuji?
You know, I'm just going to keep trusting the process. We're going to put in the work. We're going to grind over our setup. We're going to try and qualify well and then just keep it clean on track, pick up no damage, and bring it over the finish line. I haven't crunched the numbers, but I think a couple clean finishes should seal the deal for me.
I do believe you are correct. We haven't crunched the numbers either, but as things turn to Interlagos, it does not look like it's going to be its normal stormy self. It looks like it'll be a sunny race, but how are you feeling going down into Brazil next week?
I love the track, but I don't think I've ever driven it in a GT3 car, so I've got some work to do. Mostly driven it in Formula cars. So we know the track. We just have to transfer the knowledge over to the McLaren and see what we can do over there.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you go and enjoy your victory tonight, any folks you'd love to give a shout out to?
Yeah, for sure. My kids here with me, my pit crew, they're calling out the gaps for me constantly. Shout out to the boys at HPR for the great league that they run. Shout out to you guys in the commentator booth. You guys are doing such an awesome job. It's unbelievable. And finally, shout out to all my hitters down at the Sandpiper Mechanical Garage. Get my McLaren ready for every race, and she hasn't let me down yet.
Well, there you go. Congratulations again, Curtis, on your victory tonight. And we hope to talk to you again next week down in Interlagos. But that will do it for our race winners tonight. And Steven, another excellent race here tonight in the High Point Racing Imsa League. And as we do make our way down south of the border to Brazil, what are you looking forward to the most?
Well, considering the championships have been turned on their head, well, I'm looking forward to seeing who will be able to carry the paces. It's completely different to Indianapolis. From a flat ground, well, we're going up and down, left and right through Brazil. It's going to be a great one. I'm really looking forward to it. And considering it's a 60-minute race with mandatory pit stop coming into play, who's going to be able to stretch their legs? And now the drivers are getting used to the new pit stop functions that have been just recently introduced. Well, they're going to have to carry all that momentum into round 7. But folks, a massive shout out to our sponsors, Hymo, Monster Designs and Admin Box for being a part of this amazing show here at the High Point Racing IMSA Series Season 5. A shout out to our color commentator and now my racing rival, Brian Zinn, and also on production, Rob Campbell, going and pushing all the buttons in the background. Don't worry, does it to all of us. But it's been an incredible one. We look forward to seeing all the racing. And if you guys are interested in signing up for next season, right here at High Point Racing, head over to SimGrid, look up High Point, and you can be a part of the GT3 and IMSA grid. Go down to SimGrid, or even down in the description, and go and join up. We look forward to seeing you on the grid racing against some of the world's finest here in the world of iRacing. Folks, it's been a great one. It's been an exciting one. We'll see you out on June 19th for anyone that lives on the South African side. June 18th if you are in the US side. Folks, like always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody, from Racer Nexus.